What's going on, guys? We're on to part 2 of this Geddy Lee interview, Speakeasy. And we have the giveaway. So if you want one of these, I have 2 of them to give away. Thanks, Dave. If you want one, you need to, here's what you have to do. Live in the US or Canada. Email me at jpanreadsemail@gmail.com. In the subject, write Boss Man. In the body, send your name, send your email address. That's it. Cool? And I will have you on the list to potentially win one of these, and I'll be announcing the day after these videos are done. So wait a minute, let's see, when will that be? Let me specifically look. So these videos come out the 1st, so on the 6th. On the 6th, I'm gonna announce. Okay, great. All right, let's get into this part 2 of this interview. Let's do it. Bam.
So what is that like to be, with Neil having written the lyrics for so long, but you sing them? Yeah. It's very difficult. And I remember, I don't know at what age I realized that you weren't singing the lyrics that you had written, and that, right. And it was a jarring feeling for me the moment that I realized it, because I took all of those sentiments and narratives and whatever is going on in a particular Rush song as somehow issuing from me, because it's your mouth, so it's your consciousness in some way. What is the experience like of, you must go through the world with people sort of quoting things back at you that
I don't understand.
or holding you to account, maybe even. Like, what did you mean by that?
No, it's true. It's a really interesting relationship that has developed between Neil and myself. Mm-hmm. And in the early days, it was a little confounding. I think one of the first songs that he presented to us, and of course, we made him start writing lyrics. It wasn't his idea.
Well, because he read so many books, right?
Yeah. We were the first tour we did with him. We didn't really know each other. He had auditioned in July of '74. And a week later, we were playing shows, opening for Uriah Heep in Pittsburgh,
right?
Pacific Arena,
and Uriah Heep too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so we didn't know the guy, and Alex and I knew each other for years, and we were tight. So I'm sure he felt a little alienated anyway. But Alex and I, this guy reads a lot. What are you reading there? Did you ever think about writing lyrics? And so that's really how it started. And I think the first song he presented to us was Beneath, Between, and Behind, which is not
lots of words.
Which is sort of a story about America in a large way, and but not an easy song to write a heavy metal soundtrack to. So it was like, careful what you ask for.
In the Rush movie, the Beyond the Light stage, there's a moment where you're talking about just trying to get your mouth around these lyrics.
They were furious, and the song we had written for it was upbeat, as you could say. So that was the beginning, and so it could only get better. And our relationship has grown, and there were periods, for example, around Hemispheres, where it was very hard as a singer to express those lyrics in the right way. But I have to really be an actor in a sense. And with some lyrics that he will write, I will immediately be hit by them and relate to them and love them. And then it's easy because
what's an example of a lyric? One of the one where you just...
Oh, a song like Nobody's Hero, for example, or on the last album, The Garden. It happens quite often that I find the lyrics so strong. But there are other times where it's very hard for me to understand what he is trying to get across. And I have to be sympathetic. I have to grok the fullness of what he's getting at and be able to express it in a way that, because singing has to come from your heart. I really believe that, and you can't pretend to be that person. You have to be that person. So you have to sing with conviction and authenticity.
Right.
So
all this machinery making modern music
Yeah.
can still be open-hearted, right?
absolutely.
So when you do have an issue with a lyric, does it tend more frequently to be like from a technical standpoint, I can't sing this physically, I can't get these words out of my mouth in time to fit this melody, or is it more likely to be like, I don't agree with this sentiment, or I don't agree with this opinion, or
It can be both, or neither. But in the early days, we didn't really have the relationship we have today. In the early days, there would be some discussion, some back and forth. But now, when we're writing, he presents me with reams of lyrics. And he's got faith in me as sort of his sounding board, his editor.
Wow.
And so if there's only 3 lines from a song or 2 lines from a song that really hit me out of the whole song, and I'll go back to him and say, this moves me, can we start here? And I'll show him something that Alex and I have written that exemplifies what I'm after with those 2 lines. And he's happy to say, sure. And he'll go back and he'll try to use that as the inspiration to rewrite around those. And next thing you know, he's come up with that formula. And so a lot of that kind of back and forth.
Wow. I think that's going to be pretty unprecedented too. I think in a rock context for a singer and a lyricist to have that kind of relationship of sort of editorial.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never worked with any other band.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Don't they all do it that way?
I don't think
Yeah,
so.
right.
I can't think of an example. ZZ Top, of course, but
I was gonna say,
But like I said, some
Elton
of them
John.
just,
How does that?
For example.
I
love that song from the minute I read it, and it just wrote itself. And sometimes it's like that when you love the lyrics so much, and you just feel them, and the song just writes itself. And you're writing lyrics now.
Yeah, I have been writing some lyrics, and it's a hard craft to master.
Yeah, but it's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can see with the lyrics of Rush that they did get simpler and clearer, and there isn't that effort to sort of condense tons of words into a relatively short space. The lines get shorter,
right,
and therefore I think the lyrics get pithier and get punchier as time goes on. Another thing that's changed over the years, I'd say, is your voice, is the quality, the nature of your voice, and I should say your amazing voice, because to me, from the very beginning,
He's
the
walking
first
on
thing I
eggshells.
noticed about Rush was just the cover of 2112. I'd never heard of the band at all. I didn't know. And then we're talking about 1976, I think.
Yeah.
When 2112 come out.
76.
Yeah, because that's what it. And I went in the record store. I mean, it was just guaranteed. It was just programmed to the diamond bullet, like Dennis Hopper says in Apocalypse Now, just a diamond bullet right here, because I was into Dune and Isaac Asimov and all kind, probably a lot of what Neil was reading at the time, and just so that the date, which is now 98 years from now or something like that.
Right. Yeah.
And the cover, that was it. That's why I bought it. But then I got it home. The first thing that I noticed about it was your singing and your voice, and I just latched right onto it right away from the beginning, before everything else. So what's your relationship to your voice from the beginning till now? How has it changed? How would you?
My voice is an interesting topic of discussion. There are many critics that
I know.
not felt the way you did about it. I sang in a school choir briefly when I was young, and I always had a sort of soprano voice. And again, I came to sing in a band reluctantly, because I always did the jobs no one else wanted to do, except lyric writing. So, I started playing bass because the one kid who was in our band who played bass, his mother wouldn't let him be in the band anymore. So they said, you play bass. I went, okay. And the same thing with singing. We can't sing, will you sing? Yeah, okay, I'll sing. So it was always kind of, what does the job require? And early in Rush, the music was quite heavy and intense, and I loved singers like Stevie Marriott and Robert Plant and these, John Anderson, and these were the guys that influenced me, so I emulated them. And our music was loud and abrasive, and so I thought it was the right thing to do, to be on top of the music, to cut through the music. And of course, through the years, I've taken my singing much more seriously. I mean, I always took it seriously, but as you mature as a writer, as you mature as a player, you also mature as a vocalist, and it is a struggle, and you learn all the time. And one of the reasons we stopped working with Terry Brown, for example, after 10 albums or so, was I needed to learn more. I needed to work with people that could teach me more about the craft, about writing, about singing. And so it's a journey that never ends. And I love
it just keeps on like hitting a mic or
and
something.
I love to use my voice in different ways.
I don't see where it is, but I hear it.
And
oh, it's on us. Is it right here?
Like Bob Dylan said, it is a struggle at times. And that's why working in a partnership with Neil is very helpful now, because he's so considerate of my goal as a singer. And he won't hesitate to change a word if he thinks that I believe it'll make me more expressive and show my voice off in a better light. So, that's a very fortunate dual evolution of writing together and as a singer. So.
And do you think there's anything to do just physically with changes to your throat or your whatever parts of your physical apparatus change over time that just the pitch has gotten a little lower, I think? And
at times, yes.
Yeah.
And just because as you get older, the chords are a little less pliable. But I still attempt to do the early songs.
No, they sound great.
I still... Thank you. I can get it up, but not for as long. So I have to pace myself for a 3-hour show. I usually try to save certain songs for the end, because I know after I sing them, they're so high that my voice will be not functional.
Yeah. I mean, touchy subject. Touchy subject. It was, yeah, it's cool. This interview's all right. Seems all right. Feels a little slow. Yeah, it feels kind of like it drags a little bit. Not that it's like bad, but it feels a little slow. Yeah, that's interesting about the lyrics. The first thing that I thought of was Elton John, and what's his writer's name? Benny Taupin. Is that it? Bernie. Sorry, Benny. Bernie. Sorry, Bernie Taupin. That's who I thought of immediately, because I was like, that's like another famous example of a person that's doing the music and a person that's doing the lyrics, and then they, right? That's another famous example. But Bernie Taupin isn't playing in the band. He's just the lyricist, right? He's just writing lyrics for Elton John. That's it, right? So this is slightly different, but, that part is the same. That process part. And I don't know how they do it. I haven't dug into or watched interviews or any of that on Elton John. So I wouldn't know. But yeah, it is an interesting thing. It is an interesting thing and dynamic to have, where because it's not like you're playing covers, but it's kind of almost like that. It like in like a slight part, because you're not, and all I mean by that is you're playing music that you didn't write, but he wrote the music, he just didn't write the lyrics. So it's like it's kind of strange. It's kind of strange. Maybe it's not. I don't know. Maybe it's not strange. I suppose it's not strange at all. I guess in a band setting, it's a little bit different. Maybe for like pop artists and different kinds of music, it's not strange at all. But for like bands, rock bands, usually the singer writes the lyrics, right? So that's interesting. And yes, that, songs writing themselves, that's true even within music, even just within music, not specifically lyrics. It's like some songs just like fall out of you. Like just they take no time, and it's just like and they're good. It's like, this is a good song. Wow, that was just like effort. It wrote itself, right? It was effortless. Sometimes that just happens. Other times it's like it's laborious, and you really need to dig and figure out what works and what's not working, like edit what's not working. And sometimes you need to figure out whether those songs are worth continuing to work on or not. Sometimes they are, because what you have already is you feel really strongly about. And other times it's like, this isn't really, let's move on. Let's maybe go to something else. This is okay, but it's not it's not worth it. Just move on to something else. So a lot of lyric and songwriting process, mostly, with the lyrics, obviously. Process talk right here. Pretty cool stuff. All right. We have the giveaway. So if you want to enter, make sure you do it now. Ooh. Ah. Email me, jpanreadsemail@gmail.com. Bossman in the subject. Your name, email address. Get it to me now. Announcing on the 6th in the morning. All right, we got part 3 coming up next. Catch you then.